Hi, welcome to our math. Today I'm doing a series of videos on inequalities and interval notation. So this video is really just to introduce the idea of what it means to go from an inequality to a graph to interval notation. So first of all, I'm going to graph this. I always like to start with a graph. I feel that if we know negative infinity and positive infinity, we can put 21 on here. And if a is bigger than 21, a goes this way. Now, traditionally, we're taught to use an open circle at that tick mark. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to interval notation, and I'm going to turn this to a parenthesis. The reason I'm turning this to parenthesis is a is reaching towards 21 and not touching it. It scoops out that parenthesis. And in interval notation, it might look like an ordered pair. It isn't. We do the 21 because we don't equal 21. Then we have our positive infinity and parenthesis. And we use a parenthesis with infinity because you can never touch infinity. And infinity is really just a concept to mean unknown number that happens to be positive. So when we were talking about age, we say people, if I was doing interval notation, so this parenthesis means doesn't equal, where a bracket means equal, I would say someone is 0 years old to infinity. And I use infinity not to mean that somebody's going to live billions of years, just to mean that I'm not going to be the one to define how old the oldest person is. So we use a parenthesis because we're never going to touch a concept. It's just a concept to mean unknown big number. Okay, so I'm going to do my number line again with negative infinity, positive infinity, and 54. Again, it doesn't equal, but b is less than. So b is going this way, and I'm going to use a parenthesis facing the direction that b goes. B is all of these values. So in interval notation, again, we start with a parenthesis. We have negative infinity, 54, parenthesis. And we use parentheses because there's no equal sign. We're not going to equal a concept. We're not going to equal 54. Okay, next we have this one. For this one, we have c is greater than or equal to 35. So again, I'm going to start with the graph. Even if your homework doesn't tell you to start with a graph, I think starting with a graph helps really visualize what's going on. All right, so c is bigger, so we go this way towards positive infinity. There's an equal sign. So like a wall, we reach for and touch this number, so we use a bracket to show that this is a wall we hit. So for interval notation, it's going to be a bracket, 35, comma, infinity, parenthesis, and the parenthesis is because we cannot equal a concept. All right, next we have d is less than or equal to negative 74. I have negative infinity, positive infinity. You might think it's strange that I do these each time. I have students who will put negative infinity on the right and positive infinity on the left, just because that's how it looks on this one. But you can't do that. Negative infinity has to be on the left. Positive infinity has to be on the right. And if you just start off with a number line and put the infinities where they belong, it's a lot easier to see that if d is less than, it's going towards negative infinity. There's an equal sign. We'll do a bracket in the direction that we're shading. And then we can see that it's a parenthesis, negative infinity, negative 72, bracket. All of these little symbols help translate to interval notation easily. All right, so start with our number line, have our negative infinity, have our positive infinity, have our negative 18. E is less than. So it's less than because this is closed, and because it's closed, the e is the smaller side. I know there's a lot of draw a fish and the fish is eating the bigger number, and I just like to think of an equal sign as being two parallel lines, and then when one number is bigger, it opens up the equal sign, and the smaller number closes the equal sign, and you have your inequality. And instead of thinking of it as memorizing which is which, just if they touch, it means it's smaller, and if it's open, it means it's bigger. Okay, so back to this here problem. E is less than, which means e is going this way. There's no equal sign, so we use a parenthesis. So we're going to have parenthesis, negative infinity to negative 18, parenthesis. You could rewrite this. You could say E is less than negative 18, but make sure that if you're pointing to the E here, you're pointing to the E here. A lot of students like the variable on the left-hand side because then the inequality points the direction you shade, but it has to be on the left-hand side. I prefer just thinking closed side small, open side big. Okay, so for this one, we have our negative infinity, we have our positive infinity, we have our 45. F is bigger because it's on the bigger side. Equal sign means bracket. So we have bracket 45, comma, infinity, and we're done. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like my Facebook page, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.